Hi guys, and welcome to my 19th tutorial on HTML and web structure. And in this tutorial I'm going to talk about objects. This is the second tutorial about the object. As in the first tutorial I've talked about the creation, how to create the objects, but also how to use them and how to create constructors. Now in this tutorial I will show you how to create an array of objects, but also I will show you how to create a method for an object. So methods can be used and pretty much for anything. It's depending on what you design it to do. For that matter, we will use a simple method which is constructed from a function. So first of all, let us start with arrays, with the object array. Now to create the object array is not that really difficult because you already know how to create arrays and you also know how to create objects. So you just combine these two and you get array of objects. So pretty much very simple. Give it a name, for example, cars, or well, actually I will do something else this time. So for example, maybe color, and that is equal to new array, like this. So this is a new array of objects. Now I can just do any indexes, any number of indexes I can declare, and then use them for whatever purposes I want. So you already know how to do it, and how to declare the indexes, also how to use the object. But so first of all, let me just create the function which I will use to ask the question, for example, to the user whenever he likes a specific color. So for example, a question. I will name it question, and I will pass an argument of an answer. So it will be an answer. Oh, sorry, like this. So it has one argument. Oh, okay. Actually, I will ask for correct answer. So now I have to put out the references. So first of all, I will have a question. This dot color q, let's say color q question is equal to actually wait, so what color, we'll form it differently. What is the color, for example, of a I don't know, lemon, like this. Okay, so what is the color of the lemon? That's the question. Now this dot the answer, so correct answer is equal to correct answer. And now, so this is the normal way you would create your objects, but also the constructors. So this is a pretty normal constructor. A pretty normal object I will create soon. Wait a minute, I will just color 0, which is equal to a question, new question. This is how you create it, new question, and inside I specify my value. So correct answer is, for example, yellow, like this. Okay, so this is my new object, and it's the first index in my array. This is my first object in the array. And if you want to create more, of course you can. You can just increase the index and create more and more objects of this constructor, or even different constructors. So it doesn't have to be the same constructor. It can be actually a different one. So that means you can have an array of different objects, but also different constructors which will construct this object. Now, so this is pretty simple for you, as you already covered this in my previous tutorial about the objects. You didn't cover the array, of course, but you covered how to create a constructor and how to assign this constructor to your object. Now, to create a method, you have to create actual new function, which will become the method of the object. So I will have to create a new method, so for example function, and this method will, for example, check whenever the user answer is correct or not. So this is the method will be only used for this purpose. So for example, check, you can call it. And inside I will have to pass the object with this value. So I will have to pass the object with some kind of name. I don't know, I will just say, let's say, I don't know. User answer. I will ask for user answer, and inside I will do an if statement. So if user answer is equal to this dot correct answer. Oh, sorry, answer should be like this answer. Then display, for example, some kind of message like alert, and inside I will just say, for example, that's correct. And otherwise, for example, else statement, I can do, and inside the else statement I can say is wrong. So alert, you are wrong. Okay, so this is pretty much the method it will look like. It will look like this. So it's pretty simple if statement. I take the object which I got from which I pass the value to this object. I check it whenever the value, the user answer is the same as the correct answer, which I stated here. And I will pass it to the object. Of course, I will pass it from the object. When I create the object, this is the correct answer, which is passed here and assigned to this reference. Now, for this to be a method, I have to actually create a reference to this function in my constructor. This is the constructor, and I have to create a reference to this. So I also use this dot, but this time I use the same name as the function is. So check is equal check. So pretty simple. And this now will become my method for this object. For any object in that matter, which I create from this constructor. Okay, so this is pretty much how this will look like. I have my constructor and my methods. This method is right connected now. What I have to do is ask the question. So again, I have to have some kind of object which will retrieve the information. So let's say answer. I don't know if I use this. Answer, did I use it anywhere? No, I don't think so. So answer is equal prompt, and inside I can specify the message using my object. So color 0 dot and color Q. So this will ask the question which is in my object. So this question will be shown to user. And now I have in my answer the user answer. So what I can do is say color 0 dot, and this time I don't call this any from this function. I just use this check, and inside I specify the value which I got from the user. So answer. So this will now check whenever this will send the information from the user to this function now, to the check function, which is the method, and it will check whenever the user is correct or wrong. Now if I save this and display this to you, you see the message to the user, the question, what is the color of lemon? If I say something gibberish, whatever, I will have a alert with you are wrong. Now if I refresh the page and say yellow, okay, you are wrong, and maybe I did something wrong with this. Yellow, it should be yellow. Maybe instead of passing it, I can actually write it here. Wait a minute. Okay, let's see. And this time maybe it will work, because sometimes it doesn't allow the string. Yellow, you are wrong. This is something is off. It should be the same answer actually. It isn't for some reason. The correct answer I see the mistake here. That's everything. I believe it is. Wait, let me see. Save. Oh, I see the thing. It was A here. It's I will do it like this. Let's see. Maybe this will work. I don't know. Yellow. Yeah, that's correct. So as you can see, it's really important to actually not misspell the names. So it works perfectly fine. I just misspelled the name instead of capital letter. I've used instead of lowercase letter. I use capital letter, which is wrong. But nevertheless, this is how it pretty much works. So this one becomes the method of my object, and as you can see, I created the function. I can create more array of my objects, and I create more of those objects with more answers, for example. So then when I check, for example, different instead of doing this lemon, for example, I can specify in my object different fruit names. So for example, instead of doing this, I can do something like this. So this one goes here, plus I will have a fruit plus a question mark, like this. So this time I have to pass the fruit. So I pass the fruit, and whenever I create my object, I also add a fruit name. So for example, lemon here. Now if I create a new one, so let's say I create a second object, which is a first index, and the answer can change, for example, to red, and here we have, for example, cherry. I think it's double R. Yeah. And instead of doing this, I can do another answer, or I can put it in the for loop even, to as the user continue in the loop. It will be asking the user of how many questions I have. So when the user answers one question, the result will be shown, and the next question will be presented to the user, and so on. So it will be in the loop. But I can just simply copy this one because I have just two objects. I can copy this and simply paste it here, change this one to 1 now, and this one to 1, and save this, and I will show you the output. Okay, so I have the first question: what is the color of lemon? And I can simply answer, for example, yellow, and press OK. That's correct. And again, what is the color of cherry? As you can see, the question changed because now it's the cherry, and if I answer red, I should get that's correct, and I do. So as you can see, you can add actually more of those objects and different type of arguments you can pass as well. Instead of just making a hard like values questions with which is always the same, you can change actually some of those words like fruit. You can change the fruit or the color. You can also change the color. For example, instead of color, you can change it to, I don't know, something else, whatever you like, and form a different question. And also here you have always a different answer because you pass on those answers with the object, so it will save to a corresponding reference, and then it will be checked, for example, using this kind of method, or you can use a for loop, and basically add the counter instead of numbers here, and simply ask the user ask the questions to the user just how many questions you have. If you have 10, it will be asked 10 times and stuff like this. So it's up to you actually what you do with it. You don't have to actually use with the questions. You don't have to use the questions first. You can do pretty much anything else. It's just to show you how to use this, and that you can actually use it like this. So this is a method, this is the constructor, and this is the array of objects. Pretty simple to declare, and the same here. You just simply write a color or whatever name you have here, and an index specify. You specify the index equals to new and your constructor, whichever you have. You can have 2 or 3 constructors, and also you have different constructors in the same array. So it doesn't really matter which one you do, it's up to you actually. And also you can do a printout. Instead of alerts, you can do return statements. So instead of doing the color check answer, you can also assign a variable and then print the variable, for example, or just simply take the variable's value and maybe use it for different purposes. So it's up to you actually what to do with it. So that's pretty much it about this tutorial. I showed you how the array of objects is created, how to create the method, and in my next tutorial I will show you how to manipulate the time, how to manipulate the timer, but also how to create a animation. It's a very basic animation with a couple pictures already created. It will just change the pictures with while the time goes. So when the time passes, the pictures will change with the use of events such as mouse over events, which you already know from my previous tutorial. And this will conclude my JavaScript tutorials, and I will start with my PHP tutorials, which are a bit more interesting in my opinions, because you simply work with HTML, XML, but also databases. You have actually the ability to work with databases. And later on, when I finish with PHP, maybe I'll start with Ajax, which is quite useful sometimes. For example, Ajax allows you to fetch the information in real time. So everything happens in real time. You can actually program Ajax to do stuff like selecting something like a box on your page and moving it to another position, and this will actually make it valid, and you won't have to reload the page to get the answer or result if you did something correctly or fast enough. So you get to the possibilities. You can create pretty much anything. And if you like my videos, because it is the end, if you like my videos, visit my channel and my YouTube channel and my webpage for more tutorials. If you like the videos, subscribe or like them, and post any comments. I always like to read your comments. And I will see you simply in my next tutorial, and bye.